have got to tell you something. I love bloodless battles. Like, video games notwithstanding, I love those moments in history when people were, like, technically at war, but they were just so damn polite about it that you would never know. One of those battles without a battle is the capture of Guam. Okay, so this time I want to take you back to the middle of the Spanish-American War, which is basically to say the summer of 1898, because this whole thing only lasted for like 4 months. A little fight broke out between Spain and the United States when a ship, the USS Maine, sank off the coast of Cuba. Now, it's important to note that to this day we really don't know what happened to the USS Maine. It might have been exploded. It might have hit an underwater mine. It might have just been an accident. That ship had a lot of a lot of coal-burning fire on it, and it had methane on it, and it had a lot of black powder on it. There were a lot of ways that a ship like that could have accidentally exploded. But we were in a tense time. It was, I know, we're always in a tense time. At this point, it was kind of tense because Spain had a lot of little territories out in the Caribbean and in the South Pacific, and they were sort of fighting a lot of indigenous rebels in those places who didn't necessarily want them there. Cuba was one of these areas. And the United States, wanting to become a world player, had started sort of supporting some of those rebels, right? That's what the USS Maine was doing off the coast of Cuba. So, when the Maine exploded, even though we didn't know why it exploded, the newspapers engaged in what's called yellow journalism, which is basically just historical clickbait. In order to sell newspapers, the publishers knew that an attack sells more papers than an accident, and soon enough, people are yelling, "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain," and President McKinley is being pressured to fight back, and he gets permission from Congress to use military force. They set up a blockade around Cuba. Soon enough, this escalates, and Spain and the U.S. have declared war on each other. Now the U.S. is headed out toward other Spanish territories where other rebels are fighting against them. Ships are being sent out across the Caribbean. Ships are being sent out to the Pacific in order to fight Spain where they are, so long as it's not actually Spain. Right? It starts in April, and it lasts less than 4 months before the United States ends up holding sovereignty over Puerto Rico and Guam and temporarily the Philippines, but Guam is the one that we're going to focus on. Guam is the one we're looking at. So, June of 1898, we are halfway through this war, right? The United States is headed toward the Philippines, but first, Guam. And they're giving that job to a guy named Henry Glass, who is captain of the USS Charleston. He was headed to Manila, and he stops in Hawaii, where he picks up 3 transport ships that are going to follow him, and they're carrying a bunch of infantry regiments. This is the city of Peking is one ship, the city of Sydney is another, and the Australia is the 3rd ship. They're carrying a lot of infantry. Now, while he's in Honolulu, Henry Glass receives orders that says, you look at this once you're out to sea. Right? All secret squirrel, right? He gets out to sea, he breaks the seal, and he gets a message. He gets orders that say, you're going to take the Charleston, you're going to take your ship, and you're going to take these 3 other ships, and you're going to head to Manila, but on your way, you're going to stop at Guam for a quick second, and you're just going to capture it while you're on your way. You're going to just stop by, capture the port of Guam. No big. Take all the Spanish nationals there prisoner while you're there. Now that was not just like a whole bunch of hubris on the United States Navy's part. They're sending 4 ships. That wasn't just hubris. Guam had been under Spanish rule for hundreds of years, but they had not exactly been keeping up with it. The Spanish military actually only had about 54 guys there, 56. If they wanted to play soccer, and they wanted referees, they wouldn't have had enough people to cheer for them. That's how few people there were. So this order is telling Captain Glass to go ahead and take the port and take the governor and the other officials and the troops there and just take them prisoner. And also, if you see any forts, destroy them. If you see any Spanish naval vessels there, destroy those too. And if you find any coal, you know what? You can do what you want with the coal. Keep the coal, burn the coal, leave the coal, whatever you want with the coal. You do it. So they end saying, it'll take you just a day or two. I wish I was kidding about that. The orders actually say it should take you no more than a day or two. So Captain Glass is like, yeah, sure. Okay, what do we know about Guam? They literally had to look it up in the ship's library. He gets together with the other captains to start asking them, what do we know about Guam? One of them had been a whaler, and he's like, oh, Guam, yeah, Guam, been there a million times, been to the area. Okay, so it's really well run. It's fortified. It's fortified. Like, you're going to probably run into Spanish man-of-wars there, and they've got a lot of artillery. They've got a lot of men, probably like 1,000 men, probably just there to defend Guam. So these guys are war dogs. They're actually they're kind of excited. They're kind of pumped. They're excited to see action. They're ready to go, and they head out to Guam. They get there, and their first clue that something wasn't going to be big, this wasn't going to be a big fight, is that they don't find any Spanish man-of-war ships. They see a Japanese trading ship, and they're like, well, we can't fight that because we're not at war with Japan. It's just a merchant ship. So they look out onto the island, and they see a fortress. They see little town. They see a bunch of people on the beach looking back at them. They're like, okay, well, we should fire on them before they fire on us. And so they shoot at the fort. They shoot 13 rounds, and nothing happens. But it doesn't look like anything has been damaged. The people on the beach don't seem particularly intimidated. They didn't return any fire. Back on the shore, the people who were looking out at them were a collection of the Spanish officials and community leaders. And that's just that's not just some of them. That's actually all of them, except for the governor and his treasurer. So remember what I said about Guam having been neglected by Spain for a long time now? The Spanish had neglected to mention to the Spanish officials of Guam that they were at war. Oopsie. So these guys are looking out at an American ship, and they hear the shots being fired, and they're like, hey, they're greeting us. They're giving us a salute. Oh my God. Oh shit, how rude of us. We're not prepared. We're not prepared. We don't have any black powder on this side of that. We need to go. You know what? They send somebody across the island. Go get cannons. Go get cannons so we can shoot back and salute them. Go get cannons. They send one guy running back across the island. In the meantime, they get on a boat that's owned by one of the one of the citizens who is a merchant. Like, he's the biggest merchant of Guam, and his name is Francisco Portisage. He lends them a boat so that they can all row out to the Charleston, where Captain Glass is like, okay, what? They get on the ship, they're smiling, they're greeting, they're like, oh, we're so sorry, we didn't mean to be rude, but we just weren't prepared. We didn't have any black powder, we didn't have any artillery at the beach. We sent someone out to go get cannons so that we can salute you back, but we want to come out and say hi and welcome you to our island. They introduced themselves. And sure enough, they introduced themselves. They're all the community leaders, all the officials. And there's Captain Glass meeting the captain of the Marine Corps. He's meeting their civil paymaster. He's meeting all of these community leaders. He's like, okay, well, it is handy that I have all of you here because we are at war. Yeah, you guys and us guys, we're at war, and you're like our prisoners now. Thank you for coming to us, by the way. But yeah, actually, you're our prisoners. To which Francisco Portisage says, wait, I'm an American? Glass is like, oh, okay, well, not you. No, you're good. You're good. You can, you know what? You can go back and forth. So Portisage, being the biggest merchant on Guam at this point, he does what he does, and he starts selling things to the guys on all the ships. He's like, you want to buy some? You want to buy some coal? And they're like, yeah, we heard there was coal there. Yeah, we'll buy some coal. Sure, we'll buy coal. He starts selling to individuals on his ship. Like, he's got fruit. He's got treats. He's like, hey kid, you want to buy a monkey? He's got monkeys to sell for $2. He's got great prices on the fruit, I hear, actually. But I gotta tell you, the soldiers thought that the monkeys were a little overpriced. So, in the meantime, Captain Glass is discussing terms of surrender with these Spanish prisoners, and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you parole. Yeah, I will parole you so that you can go home and you can tell your governor that you are captured now and tell him to come back here. Yeah, bring him back here. I want the governor. We need the governor to surrender. So they do that. They go back to the island, all the officials, they go back to the island, and they tell the governor what's going on. The governor writes 2 letters. One is to Francisco Portisage saying, you keep fucking providing them with supplies, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like, legit, you will be executed in the morning, right there at the beach, right where they can see you, right from their ship, if you keep giving them supplies. Like, seriously, cut it out. But then he writes another letter to the captain, and it is so different in tone. It is impressively different in tone. The letter from the governor of Guam is dated June 20th, 1898. It says, Mr. Henry Glass, captain of the North American cruiser Charleston, by the captain of the port in which you have cast anchor, I have been courteously requested as a soldier and above all as a gentleman to hold conference with you, adding that you have advised him that war has been declared between our respective nations and that you have come for the purpose of occupying these Spanish islands. It would give me great pleasure to comply with this request and see personally, but as military laws of my country prohibit me from going on board a foreign vessel, I regret to have to decline this honor, and I ask that you will kindly come on shore, where I will await to accede to your wishes as far as possible, and to agree to our mutual situations. Asking your pardon for the trouble I cause you, I guarantee your safe return to the ship. Very respectfully, Juan Marina, the governor. So, Captain Glass gets this letter and he's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. He's fucking with us, right? Like, it's gotta be an ambush, right? It's gotta be an ambush. He's gotta be planning to. So he tells the other ships that, like, we're gonna go in force to this island. We're gonna go in force. He sends Lieutenant William Braunestrother to take a bunch of Marines to the beach. But when the men have trouble getting the boats launched, Braunestrother is like, you know what, we're going to go ahead. You guys come soon, as soon as you can. I'm going to go ahead in a small boat. He takes an ensign and a few sailors and then a couple of newspaper reporters to go to the beach. And he gets there and he rows out to the island. He rows out to the beach and he hands a letter to the governor. And this letter is also very polite, but also stern. Glass writes, Sir, in reply to your communication of this date, I have now, in compliance with the orders of my government, to demand the immediate surrender of the defenses of the island of Guam, with arms of all kinds, all officials and personnel in the military service of Spain now in this island. This communication will be handed to you in the morning by an officer who is ordered to wait not over 1/2 hour for your reply. The governor looks at Braunestrother and smiles and says, yeah, you got 1/2 hour. Can I draw your attention to the ships that we've got out there? 30 minutes TikTok. So, the governor blusters and he goes off with his advisors and they come back just a little bit later and he hands a letter to Braunestrother, who right there opens it, even though Governor Marine is like, no, and he's like, we're going to open it right here. He opens the letter and reads it, and it is a surrender. And Braunestrother says, okay, then you are now my prisoners, and you're going to go on board the Charleston with me. I'm going to take you back onto the Charleston, because you're my prisoners. And that sets the governor off again. He's like, no, wait, no. Go on there. No, you can't do that. We weren't ready. We weren't ready for that. Braunestrother's like, my guy, you surrendered. I can do that. So, after some blustering, he gets the governor and all of the officials, all of them except for one, the treasurer. All the Spanish officials and all of the Spanish military, it was like, what was it, 48 of them? Very few people. And the Americans take down the Spanish flag, run up Old Glory at that flagpole. They play this Star-Spangled Banner, and then they look at the forts that they're supposed to destroy, and they're like, oh, this is redundant. This is fallen apart. This has been neglected so long, there's no point in destroying it. It's already self-destroying. So the guys who were sent to check out the fort head back to the ship, and they grab the flag on the way, which might have been a bit short-sighted, because now we have just captured this island, but there's no real flag flying over it, so a little bit of a mixed message there, right? Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? So, back on the ship, Captain Glass tells Francisco Portisach that since he is the only American, he is now in charge of Guam. Congratulations, you're now governor, because you're American. Portisach is like, okay, great. Glass fucks off. He and the ships, they just take off, like, leaving Francisco Portisach in charge of Guam. Did anybody ask Guam about this? No. Did the American military leave anyone there to protect this place, which is now their territory? No. Are they now being actually more neglectful than the Spanish had been in overseeing their charge? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But Francisco Portisach is now governor of Guam. He's in charge. Captain Glass moves on with the Charleston. They get to Manila. Sure enough, the capture of Guam had actually taken less than 2 days, and now the Charleston is due at the Battle of Manila, where he is going to engage, and I kid you not, there is a mock war going on, a pretend battle that's just for show, so that the Americans could, quote-unquote, win Manila from Spain, and Spain wouldn't have to suffer what they considered the humiliation of getting their asses kicked by indigenous rebels. But that is another crazy story about a mock war. Honestly, this whole war was crazy. But for now, we're still in Guam. Francisco Portisach is in charge. But remember, there's still one Spanish guy left. There's still one Spaniard there. A Filipino Spaniard named Jose Sisto, who had been the treasurer of the Spanish administration. And he's like, fuck you guys. They surrendered. I didn't. Do you see a fucking American flag up there? I don't see a fucking American flag up there. Viva España. Or whatever it would be. I don't speak Spanish. So he tells the locals, hey, you guys, I'm the treasurer. I've got all the money. And I've got guns. So, I'll pay you if you want to help me remind this stupid Americano that he's not actually in charge. And it worked. It worked. He paid some of the indigenous people there to help him take governorship of Guam from Francisco Portisach. It worked for a hot second. Within a month, the indigenous people were all like, okay, yeah, but now the only people who have money are the people that Sisto is paying to work for him. And that is not sustainable, right? So now the indigenous people are overthrowing Sisto. So I can't tell you, all of this happened within 6 months. Within 6 months. So finally another ship comes along and sees that Guam is in freaking chaos. A lieutenant commander of the USS Brutus gets there and tells them all to just knock it off, right? He decides that Sisto is actually the one who has fair claim to be governor of Guam. And now Sisto is back in charge of Guam for another month. All of 1 month later, the Treaty of Paris is reached, and it is official. It's official. Guam has been officially surrendered to the United States, and the United States agrees, the Spanish agree, and a Spanish ship is sent to come pick up Sisto and take him away to Manila and tell him to frickin' stay there and stop trying to stage coups. And Guam was now under control of the United States. Rear Admiral Edward Taussig raised the American flag above the governor's mansion for good. 21 guns were fired. And this time, it actually was a salute. This has been another Whispery History. Thank you very much for joining me. I will talk to you later.